Sunday, April 4th. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at our plants and how they're growing. And we're going to be in the greenhouse starting off. We have some pepper plants that are in here. We have a couple of Scotch bonnets. And then we had this really mature bell pepper plant, the Eula Wonder. And its production has waned, so we replanted it with a seed that we saved. And we have a new Eula Wonder bell pepper plant that's here. In the greenhouse, the peppers can overwinter and they'll produce year-round for us, and it's nice to get bell peppers year-round. This is a Principe Borghese, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's an Italian paste tomato that's cherry-sized, and we have some planted around our gardens in different microclimates and soil types. So we'll be looking at them and seeing how they grow. When you look at them, pay particular attention to amount of foliage and blossom and plant height, to the fruit set and amount and the ripening. And we're always testing out different microclimates to see how plants grow, see if we can find a sweet spot literally for them. So here we have some that are some fruit set here. The other thing that we have growing in here is this Kona Hawaiian pepper. It's got some bud swells on them, and this brown stuff here is seed saving of some bok choy. The other thing that we're seeing if we can grow an early harvest of is cucumbers. This is a national pickling cucumber that is in a container, so we'll see how that grows. But normally it's a more heat-loving. Cucumbers in general are more heat-loving. Let's head out into the garden now and see what we have. We have sunflowers that are growing here. I think this is a red sunflower. It's the Evening Sun. This is a PB, the Principe Borghese. And this is a little bit more bushier. And we have some fruit sets here. In this bed, we have peppers that were overwintering, and they're starting to wake up. This frisee endive has taken over and is producing a lot of green material. We can use it as salad or just compost material. But what's nice about it, it's protecting the bed from being dug up. This is a time of the year where there are fewer grubs because the skunks and stuff have been eating them. So they have to dig up more to get what they need, and it makes a bigger mess than normal now. So we'll be talking about that part, the skunks, a little bit in the digging in this video. This is a Mexican herb called epazote. I'm excited to try it in our green pozole garden to table dish this year. And it looks like it's starting to bud a little bit. I think just like most plants, I think you're supposed to pinch it off. So we'll do that. This is a Gerber daisy that's in a pot. And down below we have some leek. And sunflowers, they're great for growing. I can get into a whole episode by itself talking about how nice and practical they are. You can grow the stalks to use as a gardening material, as a pole for stakes. Places for beans to climb, leaves for composting, and then over there we have one in bloom. It's the Sunspot. One of my favorite varieties, if not the favorite, because it's a large single-headed sunflower bloom that is short, and you can admire the flowers. But the tall ones are fun too, because they get nice and tall. So it's always neat to see. In this little section here, we have quite a few things planted. The yellow flowers are the flowers of edible chrysanthemum. These feathery flowers are cilantro. They're starting to bolt now. And then more difficult to see are the onions. We have some Cabernet hybrid onions that we grew from seed, and they didn't bulb up for us. And we're treating them as onion sets. So we just stuck them back in, and they haven't bulbed up. Not too big of a deal because we can use the entire plant for stock. So, chicken noodle soup stock, and they're still usable. But over here we have a couple of the yellows that are bulbing up. So that's always fun to see, always exciting. I can't remember what these are. I think they might be a hybrid variety. But it's nice to see that. And then in this bed, we're going to be planting golden bantam corn soon in the next few days, hoping to time it for the 4th of July. So we have some Usai peas that are in here for the time being. We're going to save its seed. This is a variety that is used for pea shoots, and basically pea shoots, you harvest the tips of the leaves where they're nice and tender, and you put them in a stir fry. and they're always tasty. And then coming down this way, we have another bed that we're trying to figure out what to grow in. Maybe something sun-loving like tomatoes. But in the meantime, we have some Walla Walla onions here. And Walla Wallas is supposed to be a long day variety, but they've bulbed up for us before, so we're going to plant them. And then over here we have some Zebrun shallots. And if you notice that there are these stakes here, these are garden stakes, or they're also known as garden staples, and they're here to dissuade the critters from digging, because once they hit something, they tend not to go after and dig some more. We also use these large branches to help protect our plants, and so far it's working out well. Here's the PB plant in this microclimate, and we have some more larger sized tomatoes. It's got a good height to it. It's on this tomato ladder. And then we plant Sierra rye to help with the microclimate, and also the drainage for nematodes, which is not really a big problem at this time of year because it's not too warm. Over here, the bed is just waiting for plantings, but in the meantime we have some stuff here, including some red bok choy, and then we have our peach tree that's been here for a while, and it's going to be robust enough to produce us quite a few peaches. So I haven't thinned out the plant as aggressively as in previous years, so we have a lot of peaches here, and this is probably too close, it's hard to do, but we'll have to take one of these guys out. But some of them, we're leaving them pretty close to one another, like over here. So let's take out this small guy. Yeah, so we've been thinning out some peaches, and then let's look at our wasabi plant, because this is a fan favorite. Everyone's curious to know how it's growing, and it's doing well. We have 2 predominant shoots down below now. I got this perlite to help keep it dry, so I try to water it in the daytime, and then hopefully it'll dry out by nighttime, and it'll dissuade the slugs from coming up here, because they put some holes in here. So that's how it's doing. And then we're always growing potatoes. If there's a potato sitting on the counter and it's chitting, it's sprouting, we'll stick it in the ground. So we have it on a hill here. It makes it easier to harvest. We just move the soil and get our potatoes that way. If you're putting them in the ground, you have to use a fork to dig it up, and sometimes you poke your potatoes. So we have that over there. And then over here we have a low tunnel that we're experimenting with, and it's got this agriculture fabric and this fiberglass rod that we got from Bootstrap Farmer. It's nice and convenient. I like it because you can store it away easily. It just becomes vertical, and that's always easy to store. And we have some Gailon seedlings, and this low tunnel is being used primarily to help keep the seedlings in place, because the skunks will just dig them out, and it's very heartbreaking because you have to replant it, and it stunts the plant. The other thing is with this fabric is that California, we get a lot of intense sun, and the cooler weather crops don't like that as much. So we're hoping to be able to grow better Gailon plants and better bok choy plants in the warmer parts of the year. So that's here. And then we have our newest rabbit. Her name is Snowshoe, and she's quite a big rabbit and always trying to get out of her enclosure. We lost our previous rabbit in December, Marble. He didn't make it to 2021. So yeah, she's got that entire space over there and keeping me on my toes as far as trying to keep her in there. And we'll come around this way and look at some plants over here. More potatoes. This one's in the grow bag. And then in this container we have Golden Jubilee. This is a pole tomato. In California, we have enough sun in our soil. We amended it so that it has enough nutrients to support a few liters. Traditionally, people tell you with pole tomatoes, you just let one plant grow and take off the lateral growth, and they call them suckers. They're not really suckers in California. We call them lateral growth because the energy that this lateral growth needs to produce fruit, there's enough of it here. So they're not suckers here. We call them lateral growths. And then we have this plant that looks like a peanut plant. It's called fenugreek, and it is a type of herb in Indian cuisine, and we've been using it for stews and Indian-inspired curries. And the garden has an influence on what we cook. So these guys look like they need to be pinched off soon. So we have some curries in our immediate future. In this bed, or this pot here, we have some soft neck garlic, and these are from garlic from the supermarket. Seed garlic can be expensive, and sometimes they don't do well because they're not, because our climate's not hospitable for them. So, but it's always fun to grow the varieties, the heirloom varieties. We have some more sunflower over here, and then when we swing over this way, we have our bed that's been here for a while. This has been our typical tomato bed where we grow different varieties in here, but we're going more pragmatic last year and now. So we have an entire row of paste tomatoes. That's the Blue Beach, and we planted them pretty deeply, and they're going to grow along this wattled trellis, and then this trellis will have a string, and we'll tie it to the eaves, and it'll climb up that way. And also, now is a good time to be thinking about summer heat if you're in Southern California or in warm climates like Arizona, Nevada. Think about the direction of the sun and where it's coming from during the hottest part of your day, and maybe plant some sunflowers in front of it, because sunflowers provide a good amount of shade, and you don't have to run out and have to set up a shade structure. You can spend your time doing other things like growing more plants. In the back here, we have less sun, so we're going to be growing mostly greens back here. This is a win-win hybrid bok choy. And then we have these sticks here to prevent the skunks from digging them out, and it's working so far. Don't have too many gaps in between your plants. So for instance, this one crossing over helps it because they can't get in here and dig. And what's nice about this spot is it's near our kitchen door, which is over here. We can come out and get our produce really quickly. And here is another planting of the red onion, and hopefully with some effort we can get a nice bulb. So these are planted more formally, and we have some garden soil that's pretty much unbroken, mulch that hasn't really broken down all the way as mulch or wood chips. And you'll always see green onions growing. This is a Tokyo long winter. Green onions for me is a very practical plant, and just a little bit can make a bland dish interesting in noodle soups and rice, many dishes. And then over here we have this cage, and you might be wondering about why there's a cage here, and it's for the seeds that are in here, because right now in California, the California towhee, which is a bird, it's nesting, and they love to eat the sprouts and seeds of the curcubit and sunflower plants. Those include zucchini, squashes, and once they sprout, they'll nibble at them, and you'll wonder why your sprouts never planted, but that's because they had gotten after them. But once they get to a good size, you don't have to worry about protecting them. So we have some sugar babies down here, and a zucchini, some Shantae melon. These are watermelons and squashes, so you don't have to worry about that. And over here we have some tulsi. You got a red or purple holy basil, a green one, and then we have a Cherokee purple. It's got some blossoms on it right now. Here's our carnivorous bog, and the pitcher plant, the Sarracenia, has blossomed. It's got a really cool blossom. It's got this nice balloon type pincushion center, so it's been nice watching it bloom. And then we'll continue on this way and look at the container garden that we set up at the start of the pandemic to increase the amount of food we can grow. And this is a very easy way for many folks to grow. It uses these containers that you can probably find because they're always trashing them, or if not, they're not very expensive, and they last for a long time because of the material. And last year we put in garden soil, which is basically mulch. And because it's basically mulch, it doesn't have the nutrients to support fruit producing plants. We grew spinach and other greens, and we grew beans afterwards. But after a year, that soil has broken down, or that mulch has broken down, and I feel it's gotten to a point where it can support plants like tomatoes. So these are our first planting and earliest planting of Roma tomatoes, and we'll see how much they produce for us in these containers. And then over here we have carrots that are in here. This is the first time I've ever planted this many carrots, because normally I plant however much I anticipate on eating, because abundance can sometimes lead to waste. And I decided to plant this many carrots because we can juice them, and then also it will encourage us to eat more carrots. So we have a bunch that are sprouted over here, and the ag fabric is to protect them from our sun. It's pretty warm these days. Sun's pretty intense, so once they get a little bit bigger and their roots establish some more, then we won't have to worry about them drying out. So I think we can probably take them off in the next couple of days. And then down this way we have a little new planting area. This is where we had a lumber pile, our salvaged lumber, and the grass died underneath, so I put some soil on top and we have some corn growing, and I moved the lumber pile over here. At some point I want to build a coop, maybe add some chickens to this place. But there is corn. This is an early variety, early glow, and it's supposed to do well during the early parts of the year. So we have them here. We'll see how that grows. And then as far as citrus, I know a few of you are interested in the citrus and are curious about how they're doing. These are the ones that we grafted. So this is a Bahubza blood orange, and it was a bud graft onto a root stock that we had grown ourselves from seed. And it looks like towards the end of the year, maybe in December, we'll finally get to try one. I think it was 2 years ago that we did this graft. So we have some fruit sets over there. And then this is another Bahubza blood orange. This is a cleft graft onto a lemon portion of the tree, and we have two varieties here. This portion here is the blood orange, and then this is the lemon, and you can see the lemon blossoms have that purple tinge to them. Won't get into detail in this video about all the nuances, just want to give you an update. And this is our King Tanger cleft graft. It's also known as Kamsa. It's a very interesting citrus. We're hoping to get some fruit because I spotted a blossom on this plant somewhere. Anyways, here's another variety. This is a Dancy. It's grafted, another cleft graft, onto the rootstock that we grew from seed. And the source for the budwood is a source from the University of California. So we're using clean budwood that has very little chance of being contaminated. So I want to highlight that. And then over here, this is a very interesting microclimate. It's great for tomatoes, and so we have some tomatoes planted. It's nice and cool in the morning, and then in the afternoon we get sun all the way into evening. So I think tomatoes like that, and we try to plant as many of the larger varieties as possible over there. There's always something going on and more to show, but I think we'll end it here and give you a shot of our Red Baron peach in the morning as the sun hits it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you have a lovely day, and we'll see you in the next video.